Today I'll be going through the full 2023 AFL fixture that I've created myself as a bit of a prediction for this coming AFL season. Originally this was meant to be a fun little off-season task that I could chip away with over the off-season, but I tell you what, I had no idea just how long it would take and how difficult it would be. There's so many factors I had to consider when making this, such as who plays who twice, stadiums held and breaks. It took me ages making this, but I've spent over the last 3 weeks working on this, so a like and subscribe will be very much appreciated for this effort, and let's get right into it. The 2023 season kicks off a bang. We've got the Tigers and the Blues playing off round 1 Thursday night in the Classic season opener. We then follow up this clash with arguably an even more interesting clash, this time between the Cats and the Pies. No grand final rematch because the Cats themselves have elected not to play that. The first 3 games are at the MCG, then we head to Metricon Stadium for the first in-state game between the Suns and the Saints. The Dogs and the Swans play a primetime clash at Marvel Stadium. Then we head to the Sunday matches, a little bit more underwhelming. The Giants, they play the Bombers in a surprising primetime clash, and then the last game of the season we head west between the Eagles and the Hawks. Round 2 starts off strong. We see the Pies and the Tigers playing the Thursday night, expecting a big crowd. The Friday night fixture at the SCG for the first time against the Blues. The first of 2 Saturday night games, this one the primetime game. The Cats take on the Power at GMHBA for their first game in that venue. The Suns then play the Lions in the Q clash. The Hawks then take on the D's at the MCG Sunday afternoon primetime, and the Dockers ran out the season playing a home game against the Giants. For round 3, and we've got Richmond's 3rd consecutive Thursday night game, this time against the Dogs again at the MCG. The Pies play another primetime game, this time against the D's, and a bit of a surprising clash. Usually when the Pies and D's play twice, they normally play after the Queen's birthday clash. The first game at Blundstone sees North Melbourne take on the Crows, and then we head to Sydney for a twilight battle of the bridge at Giant Stadium. The Blues play their 3rd primetime clash Saturday night against the Lions. The Hawks get their 2nd consecutive Sunday afternoon primetime game, this time taking on the Saints at Marvel Stadium. And the Derby, that finishes off the round. We've got the Eagles taking on the Dockers. Round 4, the Lions, they get their first Thursday night encounter, this time taking on the D's at the Gabba. The Dockers, they get their first Friday night encounter, this time against the Dogs in an elimination final rematch. The Pies, they play their first Marvel Stadium home game against the Power. The Tigers and the Cats play off in another Saturday night classic. The Blues get another primetime game, surprisingly though, this time against the Eagles. And then we head to Marvel Stadium and we see the last game of the round between the Bombers and the Suns. We head to round 5 and this is the Easter round. We start off as always against the Lions and the Pies at the Gabba Thursday night. Then for the Good Friday game at Marvel Stadium, we've got the Roos taking on the Dogs, and then the Power against the Suns in the Friday night game that's not on Channel 7. The D's take on the Swans in the first game on the Saturday, and then the last game on the Saturday, we see the Eagles host the Tigers. Primetime game again. Will this be another 100-point smashing? St Kilda and Freo play on Easter at Marvel Stadium, and then of course the Easter Monday clash, like it happens every year. We've got the Cats take on the Hawks at the MCG. We now head to round 6, and this round will be the magic round, or whatever the hell you're going to call it. Of course, if you take a look at the fixture in more detail, I made this before knowing when it was actually going to start, so in the proper fixture, I'm almost certain it's going to be round 5, but it was too much of a hassle to reorganise stuff, so I've left it at this. I think the most fitting way to start off the season, to be honest with you, is the showdown, Port v Crows, Thursday night footy. Get the magic round off to a bang. The next game, I've got Friday night footy between the Pies and the Dockers. This should be a really good encounter. 2 sides that played off in the semis last year. The Swans, they'll take on the Saints for the first Saturday game at the Adelaide Oval on my birthday. We then head to the smaller suburban grounds, played between the smaller teams of the AFL. We've got the Lions and the Eagles playing at 2:10pm at the Parade, and at 4:35pm at the Barossa, we've got Gold Coast taking on North Melbourne. And I don't think there's much better way to finish off the Saturday games than to play the Blues and the Cats at the Adelaide Oval, 7:20pm. I was going to have this game originally as a Friday game, but realised there's no way in hell the Cats are going to get a 4-day break after the Monday game. We'll then head to the Sunday games. We've got 2 at the Adelaide Oval. The first one at 12:30pm, the early time slot. This one will be between the Bombers and the Dogs. Then at Hisense Arena, we've got the Giants take on the Demons at 2:40pm. And to finish off the round, I've given it a Channel 7 game, Adelaide Oval, Richmond v Hawthorn. Good way to finish off the round. Now for round 7, this will be the first round this year where we don't start off the season on the Thursday night. Instead, it'll be a Friday night game between the Power and the Swans at the Adelaide Oval. The Cats then take off the Saturday games and they'll be playing the Eagles at GMHBA in what should be probably another 100-point smashing. And to finish off the round, or at least on the Saturdays that is, the Dockers will take on the Blues. They always opt the home game and the Anzac Day weekend, so they'll get another opportunity here to play the Blues, this time at the Optus Stadium. We see Mars Stadium and Manuka Stadium kick off their campaigns in terms of fixtures for the Sunday clashes, and then for Monday, of course, the Anzac Day Eve clash. We've got Melbourne taking on Richmond. We then move to Anzac Day on the Tuesday, and we've got 2 games on this fixture. The first game, we've got the Hawks taking on the Crows. I feel like the Hawks have almost made this fixture their own. This one we played at Utah Stadium, and then the last game, of course, Anzac Day round. We've got the Anzac Day game, we've got Collingwood and Essendon at the MCG. We head to round 8 and we've rewarded the Saints with their first Friday night game, hosting the Cats this time at Marvel Stadium. Then see the Swans take on the Suns at the SCG. We got the primetime slot, Channel 7, Dogs v Hawthorn at Marvel Stadium. And almost a better game, I would say, the non-Channel 7 game. We've got the Lions taking on the Dockers, two sides who made the top 8 last year at the Gabba. And then for the Sunday games, you got to admit that the pick of the bunch here has to be between the old arch rivals, Carlton and Essendon at the MCG, Sunday 3:20. For round 9, this will be the Mother's Day round, and because the games on Mother's Day on the Sunday attract barely any crowd, I've given an extra game on the Thursday to make up for it because it just makes the most sense. And this game will be at the Adelaide Oval, played between the Power and the Tigers. And then for the Friday game, for the first time since 2013, the Pies can finally host a game against the Swans at the MCG. Geelong then take on the Crows at GMHBA Stadium to start off the Saturday games, and then the Giants, well, they move to Giants Stadium to take on the Saints at 2:10 p.m. The Channel 7 prime time slot game will be played between the Blues and the Dogs at Marvel Stadium. This will be a really interesting matchup. And then for the Sunday games, we've got Hawthorn get another Channel 7 game on the Sunday between the Lions at the G this time. I don't actually remember the last time these two sides faced off against each other at Marvel, but we have Essendon and Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. Now for round 10, we're back with just starting off the round on the Friday night. We've got the Dogs take on the Pies at Marvel Stadium at 7:50 p.m. The D's, well, they take on the Saints, the twilight time slot fixture at the MCG, and for the first time since the grand final last year, we're going to have to wait till round 10 for this one. We've got the Swans and the Cats at the SCG in the grand final rematch at 7:25 p.m. And we've also got a second game on the Saturday night, another game that should be pretty good. We've got the Lions and the Power at the Gabba. For the Sunday clashes, we've got Essendon and Hawthorn, the two old rivals, taking on against each other at Marvel at 1:10. And a very exciting fixture I feel this one could be, Richmond Freo at the MCG, Sunday Arvo footy. Round 11, we see the first of two Indigenous rounds. We've got the first game between the D's and the Cats at the MCG on the Friday night. The Saints play the Blues at Marvel, the Power play the Hawks at the Adelaide Oval, and of course, as we see every round, the dream time of the G clash, Essendon and Richmond at the MCG, followed by Fremantle and Sydney at Optus, arguably the more appealing matchup, you could argue. For the Sunday clash, we've got the Pies and the Roos at Marvel, and then the Dogs take on the Lions at Marvel Stadium. The second of two Indigenous rounds, we've got the Cats play another Friday night game, and this one will be against the Dockers at GMHBA Stadium. Can the Dockers cause another upset? The Lions, they play the Saints at the Gabba. The Crows, well, they take on the Tigers at the Saturday 4:35 p.m. time slot. And for our Channel 7 Sunday night clash, we've got Sydney and Essendon at the SCG, followed by Gold Coast and Hawthorn, the first game at Teo Stadium. North play the Power at Blundstone. The first game of Horn Francis will take on his former side. And then what an appealing matchup we got here. Carlton and Collingwood, the first time these two sides will play off against each other since that famous round 23 clash in 2022. For the round 13 fixture, we do start off the bye rounds. We see Sydney and Brisbane take off against each other at the SCG. The Bombers play a home game at the MCG against the Cats. And for our Channel 7 Saturday night game, we've got Port Adelaide and Melbourne at the Adelaide Oval. Hawthorn, well, they get given another primetime clash, this time against the Pies at the MCG. And of course, the Suns and the Giants, well, they're not getting the primetime clash. They're going to be battling it out last game of the season at Metricon. Round 14, the second of three bye rounds. We start off the round now on a Thursday between the Lions and the Cats this time, followed by the Saints and the Tigers. Marvel Stadium, Maddie's match, Friday night footy. The Dockers face off the Bombers, the Saturday night clash at Optus Stadium. And then the last game of the round, the Queen's birthday clash, Melbourne v Collingwood. This is in fact the first time two sides have played each other twice so far in this fixture. We see now the last of the remaining bye round fixtures at round 15. The first game on the Thursday again, we've got Richmond and Sydney at the MCG, followed by Hawthorn and Carlton at the MCG. I've given both these two big sides the chance to battle it out at the MCG on the Friday night. And for the Channel 7 game on the Saturday night, the Dogs get it again, this time at Marvel Stadium, taking on the Power. Round 16, we're back to a full round of footy, 9 games, and we start off the season on the Thursday night between the Pies and the Saints at the MCG, followed by Carlton and Melbourne on the Friday night. This could be a really good game of footy, particularly after what we saw last year. Richmond, well, they play their first Marvel Stadium home game, this time against the Suns. And if I'm not mistaken, this might be the Suns' first primetime game all season. The Power, in an underwhelming fixture against the Giants, finish off the Saturday night games. And for Sunday, well, we see the Lions and the Bombers battle it out at the Gabba, Channel 7 primetime slot. Round 17, we start off the round on the Thursday. We got Collingwood take on Port Adelaide at the MCG, followed by the Friday game between Melbourne and Fremantle, also at the MCG. The Giants, well, they play an early game against the Cats at Manuka Stadium. The Dogs play the Saints at Marvel. And then I've decided, you know what? Let's give the Crows a Channel 7 game here, and we'll give them the home game against the Swans at the Adelaide Oval, followed by the Suns take on the Blues at Metricon. On the Sunday, we'll see North and the Hawks battle it out in Tassie, and then Richmond, will they take on the Lions at the MCG at 3:20 p.m. For round 18, we start off the Thursday night game with the 2021 Grand Final rematch between Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs, followed by another Grand Final rematch for 2022 this time between the Cats and the Swans. And you know what? I've decided we'll give it at the MCG. I think this game can really attract a very big crowd. And then we've got the third MCG game in a row between the Hawks and the Suns. The Suns, this is their first game at the MCG all fixture. The Saturday night games, we've got the Saints and the Bombers, prime time slot, followed by the Crows and the Lions at the Adelaide Oval. And then for the Sunday games, North take on the Tigers at Marvel Stadium, the Blues take on the Power at the MCG, and another derby, the last game of the season again for the derby, we've got the Dockers and the Eagles at Optus. Now we head to round 19, and the Thursday games are gone once again. We've got Carlton and Richmond taking off against each other at the MCG. We've got the second battle of the bridge here between the Swans and the Giants here, which seems to always be a twilight time slot. And for the Channel 7 game, the Lions take on the Dogs at the Gabba at the Saturday night, and then West Coast and the Pies battle it out at 8:10 p.m. On the Sunday time slots, Hawthorn take on the Dockers at the MCG. The first game at Teo Traeger Park, Melbourne play the Suns at Alice Springs. And around the season, the Saints finally play a home game against the Power at Marvel Stadium. What better way to start off round 20 than to play the Pies and the Blues on the Friday night at the MCG? We got the Dockers taking on the Lions at Optus Stadium, and then Geelong take on the Dogs at GMHBA Stadium, followed by Port Adelaide and North Melbourne at 7:40 p.m. at the Adelaide Oval. The Sunday games, the pick of the bunch here will probably have to be the D's and the Hawks. That's why I placed it as the Channel 7 Sunday afternoon clash at the G. 4 rounds remain. We've got round 21 here. In the first game of the round, we've got at the Gabba between the Lions and the Tigers at 7:50 p.m. Hawthorn, will they take on the Saints at UTAS Stadium? The Saints haven't played there in a few years. We then followed up with the second showdown of the year, and we've given it the twilight Saturday time slot. And for the Channel 7 game, we've got Geelong taking on the D's at GMHBA Stadium, and the Suns, will they take on the Pies the Saturday night as well. For the Sunday games, we've got the Bombers and the Swans at the MCG in the fixture that always seems to happen at around this time. The Blues take on the Dockers at Marvel Stadium for the Channel 7 game, and to finish off the round, we've got West Coast taking on the Giants at Optus. With 3 more rounds to play, we've got round 22, and the Dockers, they host another Friday night game between the Tigers this time at 8:10 p.m. at Optus. The Blues take on the Roos at Marble. The Lions take on the Suns in another Q clash at the Gabba. Hawthorn then take on the Cats again for the second time this year. Twilight time at the G. And for our Saturday prime time game, we've got Sydney taking on Melbourne at the SCG, followed by Port Adelaide and West Coast at the Adelaide Oval. We've got the Giants take on the Dogs in a bit of a rivalry at the Giants Stadium. Essendon taking on the Pies the second time at the MCG. And St Kilda rounding out the round and playing Adelaide at Marble. Round 23 we have here, and I made a little bit of a mistake on my behalf. I had to make it so there would be 2 games at the Adelaide Oval this round. So because of this, I don't think they'll do this in real life, but I've decided to start off the round on the Thursday between the Power and the Lions this time at the Adelaide Oval. Massive clash for the Friday game, just like in round 1. Collingwood take on the Cats at the MCG. Richmond take on the Bombers again at the MCG, and Adelaide in a similar fixture to last year. Can they pull off the upset again and beat the Blues again at the Adelaide Oval? The Sunday games got the D's take on the Giants at the G. A very obscure Mars Stadium Channel 7 game between the Dogs and the Dockers. And to round it out, we've got the Eagles and the Saints battling it out at Optus Stadium. Now, the final round of the season, we've got round 24. They never released the dates and times, so we've got to be confirmed for all of them. And I've actually realised now that they probably won't have exact times and dates for every round until round 24. They'll probably have a rolling fixture after 15, but I just feel like it's more fun predicting the times and dates for every single game up until the last one. We've got Collingwood and Adelaide, Brisbane and Carlton, Essendon and Port, Freo and Melbourne, Geelong and Gold Coast, GWS and Hawthorn, North and West Coast, Richmond and Saints, and Sydney and Dogs for the last round of the season, round 24. So there we have it, everyone. Hopefully all that effort was worth it and you ended up enjoying. If you want to give it some sort of a crack yourself or just predict a certain round, then let me know in the comments. Feel free to drop your predictions down below. And also let me know what you liked and didn't like about the fixture because, as always, I'm always up for all that. Also, if you want to see your team's individual fixture, of course, then pause the video as I go through my crappy little Excel spreadsheet. I'll see you live at Fed Square later tonight. Have a good one, and we'll see you soon.